then that's your privilege. I would not call it religion because I think it's misleading, because to me religion carries a whole lot of other baggage, which is not moral philosophy, not legal codes, not codes of conduct, but which is belief in the supernatural. The late Douglas Adams told a nice story, and I think I've quoted it in A Devil's Chaplain. There was a man who didn't understand how television sets worked. He thought that there were a lot of little men inside the television sets who were jumping up and down, pulling sort of cardboard cutouts or something, in some way anyway, controlling the image on the screen. So an engineer explained to him that actually no, what happens in a television set is you've got cathode ray tube and you've got scan lines and all that sort of stuff, and he fully explained it to this chap how television sets worked, and he said, "Oh yes, yes, I understand. I finally understand how a television set works. But I expect there are just a few little men in there, aren't there?"
Richard is one of the most spiritual people that I know. This might sound surprising. I mean it, of course, entirely in a non-religious sense. But his feeling of awe and wonder and humility in the face of the natural world is something I feel can only be described as spiritual. If you are a lover of truth, then it's very painful to see people's minds being fettered by ideas based purely on tradition and on faith and on revelation to an individual, which is then passed on through sacred texts and a whole ream of disciplines and prayers and so on, and all that builds up out of it. And Richard feels very deeply against that kind of fettering of the mind, especially the poisoning of children's minds at an early age, when they will accept anything and everything.
Does science spoil our love of nature? Dawkins would say emphatically no. Our understanding of how the world works actually enhances our appreciation of it. His book, Unweaving the Rainbow, got its title from a poem by Keats, asking for the secrets of nature to remain as secrets and not be explained and demystified. The book, like so much of his writing, is peppered with literary allusions and poetic references, and begs the question, is there something unique about him as a science writer?
I do think that he did, in a way, inaugurate a new tradition of science writing, but I also think he will be seen as part of the revolution in evolutionary biology that came to bring the gene-centered view into evolutionary biology and made a huge difference in that respect as well. So I think he genuinely crosses the two cultures between art and science as a contributor in both.
Richard Dawkins is now working on his next book, a further exploration of evolution, another work of popular science. Explaining it to me, I found him yet again drawn to poetic and even religious words and expressions.
It's a history of life written as a pilgrimage to the past, a pilgrimage to the origin of life, a pilgrimage to retrace your ancestors all the way back to the origin of life. The notion of pilgrimage has Chaucerian echoes, obviously, and the book is becoming more and more Chaucerian, the way I'm seeing it, as the ancestor's tale. There are tales told by pilgrims. The pilgrims are species of animal or plant on a kind of shared pilgrimage back to the origin of life. The pilgrims don't all set out together as Chaucer's do. Rather, they set out and they join the pilgrimage successively. So we set out and we're joined 6 million years into the past by the chimpanzee pilgrims, and then another million years into the past we're joined by the gorilla pilgrims, and then we're joined at 14 million years in the past by the orangutan pilgrims, and so on.
Pilgrimage, chaplain, cosmos. I came away from my meeting more confused than enlightened. The stickler for science who loves religious imagery, the man who seeks morality yet hates faith. Like a moth to a flame, he seems endlessly drawn to the very things, spiritual and irrational, that he says he hates. Since The Selfish Gene was first published, the world of evolutionary biology has moved on. Some scientists now believe there's more altruism in nature than Dawkins suggested, that animals can be nice to each other in wider groups, not just among the immediate family.
We now think that there may be other ways in which cooperative behaviour can evolve, partly by group selection, where individuals do things which benefit the group, don't benefit themselves, and don't benefit their relatives either, and they expect nothing back for it.
There is irony here. Richard Dawkins, the man who insists nature is brutal, exhorts us humans to treat each other well, to deny our selfish genes. But that's exactly what the world's religions, that he hates with such passion, do too. They ask us to treat each other as if we were brothers. Meanwhile, scientists seem to be finding evidence that animals cooperate, do things for their mutual benefit, beyond the strict confines of the immediate family. I wonder if we're all heading in the same direction. Maybe we humans with our quirky religions are just as natural in our behavior as the other animals. Maybe our selfish genes have programmed our huge brains to be unselfish in an even wider sense than Richard Dawkins ever imagined. Far from having horns, I ended up thinking that Richard Dawkins was probably growing a halo, but he wouldn't thank me for saying that.